It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It is the last weekend before Christmas. Are you running around? Is your hair on fire? Are you anxious about your family? Are you whatever? It's a time of year where it is tough. I get it. I am entertaining the in-laws. Nothing like being a Jewish woman and having to do the whole Christmas dinner. It's a little, at first I have to say, a little bit more uptight about that. However, I'm kind of cool with it now. You know, I'm much better. Okay, so that said, this is a program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. And we are always encouraging you guys to give us a holler. So if you've got a financial question and you need some help, and it could be anything. It could be retirement. It could be saving for education. It could be taxes. It could even be about career decisions. I love those questions because some of those decisions you're making, you're not taking into account that, in fact, you really should be paying attention to the money aspect of it, not just the excitement of what lies ahead. If you've got questions about anything that has a dollar sign, just give us a call. Nah, don't give us a call. Just send us an email. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Or go onto the website, jillonmoney.com, and you can very easily find the Contact Us button. Okay? All right. First up, we have, I hope I'm going to pronounce this right, Marguerite, or is it Marguerite?
Yeah, it's Marguerite.
Okay, Marguerite, you are up first today. Tell me what we can do for you.
So about 4 years ago, my mother passed away.
Oh.
And when she did, part of what I inherited was about $500,000 from her retirement account.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been doing fine. It's even though I'm taking a required minimum distribution.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering if there's something else that I could potentially be doing with it. It's gone up about $70,000 in the 4 years.
That's good.
So it's doing okay, but just wondering if there's something else I should be considering.
Okay, tell me a little bit about yourself first.
So married,
Mm-hmm.
mid-40s. We make about $300,000 a year. We've got about $1 million in IRAs, 401ks, HSAs, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And then about another $1 million in just regular brokerage accounts.
You're rocking it, girl. This is good news. All of this is good. Okay, I'm listening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's sort of where we're at financially. We don't have any debt except for we have 2 mortgages, one on a house that we live in currently and one sort of our future retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got about $1 million in equity in one and pretty much none in the other.
So you guys are in very good financial shape. Do you have children?
No children.
That's why you have all that money. You just explained it to me because people are listening. They're like, wow, why is this woman telling me all this good? Like, what's up? Okay. So you make a lot of money. You save a lot of money. Your cash flow is good. So you don't need this distribution, do you?
Right.
Okay. So, the problem with an inherited IRA is that you still have to get the money out, right? The good news is that I looked this up on your behalf because I knew Mark had sent me your email. You could actually, instead of taking that money, and how much money are you getting in a distribution on an annual basis about?
12 or 13,000.
That's it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't need that income. It adds to your total income. You don't need it. But you know what you could do? You could actually do a QCD. Do you know what that is? It's basically a way. So it's a way to, for everyone else, you probably know, you sound very smart. So a QCD is a way for you to take the money that you would have had as a distribution and give it to charity. And the thing that's very interesting about this, I didn't know whether a QCD could be could be used for an inherited IRA, but the answer is yes. So I actually went on the website of the IRS to kind of figure this out. And so the way it works is this. Instead of you getting a check sent to you or a wire sent to you, you talk to the brokerage house that holds the inherited IRA. Now, do you have a good relationship over there? Or are you just managing the money yourself? How are you doing that?
Yeah, I've done almost nothing with it since I got it. It's with TIAA CREF.
Okay. You can talk to TIAA CREF and you can say, I don't want to have the distribution sent to me. I would like to do a qualified charitable distribution. And the money has to go not to you, but directly to a charity. And they should be able to do this for you. They really should. And what happens in doing this is that you can feel good about yourself. Hey, I gave to charity, right? And you don't have to take the income. So now if you were at all charitably inclined, and I bet you are because you got a lot of money and it sounds like you're a nice person, you can just use this money every year to give to charity. What do you think?
Okay. Sounds great.
Not bad, right? I think that's a good way to go. I really think, because that's about the only thing I could tell you that is going to be worth it for you in terms of saving tax money. Is the money mostly in the TIAA side or the CREF side of the account?
It's about half and half. So
Okay.
half is in one of their growth funds, and the other half is in the traditional annuity.
I think that this is it's a good option for you. TIAA CREF is a very fine organization. I think you'd be happy to just leave it where it is. But that way, don't take the money. And now you don't have to worry about the charitable distribution. The tax distribution. You can actually feel good that it's going to charity. So that's what I would do. Good luck. Thanks so much for calling.
Thank you.
Take care. That's pretty neat, right? I like that one. Qualified Charitable Distribution, QCD. Okay? You can take this. And by the way, be very careful about this, because it can be funky at tax time. So you can take up to $100,000 out of your retirement account and divert it to the charity. Has to be in an IRA. I don't think it can be in a 401k or a 403b. But she said it was an inherited IRA, so that's good. And this is a really smart way. Again, you have to not need the money, right? So you can satisfy all or part of your required minimum distribution from your IRA with a charitable distribution, a qualified charitable distribution, or you can do even more, up to $100,000 a year, by the way. That's a good idea. All right. You're listening to Jill on Money. When we return, more of your questions. And go to check out JillOnMoney.com. While you're there, you can pre-order the book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. All right, we'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You are back with Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. We are broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank studios. I always like to say, someone asked me a question about, what's the show like? And I said, we talk about money and financial issues, but we make it fun. It's not boring. It's not judgmental. There's no finger wagging here. It's just cutting through the baloney. All right. Let's go and take a call, because that is what part of this show is about, hearing from you. If you have a financial question, all you have to do is go to JillOnMoney.com. That's our website, JillOnMoney.com. Click on the Contact Us button. Alternatively, you can send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Right now, we are talking to Janine. She is calling from Washington State. Hello, Janine. Welcome to the program. What can we do for you?
Hi, Jill. Well, today I was wanting to find out some information. My husband is active duty Army, and we've got about 4 years left till he retires, and we are trying to figure out what should we be doing now to get ready for that big transition. We don't know what employment's going to be like. Are we going to be moving? What do we need to be thinking about now?
Right. And you're so smart to do it with 4 or 5 years before because, if you wait till 4 or 5 months, you can't really change the outcome, right? So,
right.
So tell me a little bit about you guys. How old are you?
I'm 42 and he's 46.
Okay. You have any kids?
Yes, we have 3 kids, a 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Oh, brother, you got your hands full. And are you home full-time with those kids? Because that sounds like a lot.
Yes, I am.
Sorry. Sounds like a lot. Do you own a home?
Yes, we have a home. It's currently mortgaged. We're about halfway paid off. So our mortgage is about $250-ish.
Okay.
And we have about 13 years left.
So what does he do? The reason I'm asking him is what kind of jobs would he be looking for in 4 years?
So he's a physician in the Army, but he's internal medicine, and he is subspecialized, but he could do kind of a little bit of internal medicine like primary care, or he's specialist in endocrinology, so he could specialize as well.
So he's employable. This is sweet.
Yeah,
We're not
exactly.
worried. I'm not worried at all. I got nervous. I thought you were going to tell me he had some weird special expertise that is only used for like military something or others. Okay.
No, he's employable for sure.
Okay. He's got to know, how much do doctors in your area earn?
That's a very good question. I don't think he does know. I don't think I'm the planner in the family. So I've done more of this legwork. So
okay. Let's find that out. Let's find out. I don't know where you live. I'm going to make it up. But let's just say you live in Seattle because Washington State means exactly one. Is that terrible? Give me another town to pick.
Tacoma is close. Olympia is close.
Okay, so let's go to Tacoma. This is what I think you should do. You're going to put on your investigative journalistic hat, and you're going to say, how much does a primary care physician make in Tacoma? And how much you endocrinologists make in Tacoma. You probably can find this out. He probably, honestly, you could. Whatever the closest med school is, they probably have all this data floating around.
Right.
But I mean, look, the one thing about doctors, I understand medicine is changing, but as my dear friend Deborah, the dermatologist, just said to me, the good news about being a doctor is you can always get a job, no matter what.
Right.
You may not like your pay, but you can always get a job.
Right.
So he's going to have a job, and he is going to be able to support a $250,000 mortgage. Tell me what is in the left side of the balance sheet. So how much money do you have in savings?
So right now we have about $30,000 just for emergency fund. We've got some retirement. He's been contributing to the thrift savings plan.
Yep.
And we're at $450 with that.
$450 as in $450,000?
Right.
You said it very nonchalantly, like it was $4.50.
No.
So I was pausing to give you kudos and say $450 is a good number. That's awesome.
Yes.
What about you? Do you have old retirements floating around?
I have an old TSP which only has $48,000 in it. It just sits there. It doesn't really do anything, but I didn't do anything else with it. It's just there.
Okay.
We both have Roth IRAs. I just switched mine over last year, and it's at $130.
Okay. Great.
And then he has a Roth IRA at $150. And then we have a couple of just non-retirement investment accounts that we put extra stuff in, and one's at $40 and one's at $48.
This is a good story. I'm liking this story. 5, 6, 730 and 48 here, so $800,000. So that's fabulous. What happens when he retires from the Army? Will he be entitled to a pension?
Yes, he will be earning a pension, and so he starts earning that immediately upon retirement, and so he will be getting. It looks like about annually after taxes, if we do the after tax 28%, which is what the calculator online shows, it's about $56,000 a year.
I'm so psyched for you.
I
mean,
know,
like, you're in great shape.
About this kind of stuff, but I also feel like, there's still so much unknown. And
okay, relax. Come on. You're doing a great job. You're amazing. I mean, if I had a bell, I'd ring it. Here's what I think you should be doing. Over the next 4 years, and probably like in the next year, he and you should really start thinking about like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a primary care doc or not? I think the cool thing about the pension is this gives him an interesting opportunity to do what he wants to do, not just grab the money. You know, you're in great shape. The only thing that I would do in anticipation of the transition is he should take some time off for sure. Like that's just real life. So that means beef up your emergency reserve fund so that he can just take some time and chill out. You know why? He's never going to have the chance to do it again until he retires.
That's true.
He's just not. The thing that people will do is they'll say, I just want to get started as soon as possible. Don't do that. Take the time. I mean, this from the person, I have so many, like, I don't have regrets about anything except I have regrets that at a time where I could have taken a really clean break, I didn't. And that was dumb.
Yeah, and it is a big change, moving from being in the all-military world to the all-civilian. It's a whole new culture. And
do you think it's going to be harder for him to deal with the crazies that come into his office?
I don't know about the crazies. I think just the pace. I think he's really, the military medical system is very blessed that you can take more time with your patients, and it's not a, see 30 patients in one day kind of.
Right.
And I think they just want you to be a workhorse when you're a civilian, and so that's
that's going to be a transition. So I think that he can be a little choosy about maybe more of a lifestyle practice rather than one of these cranking, crazy places where you do have to do that. I mean, what you have done for yourselves in being such good savers is give yourselves opportunity to have a really great next career. That's what I think is so fantastic. Again, imagine if you hadn't squirreled away all this money and you hadn't done all these things. Then it would have to be like, okay, I just got to go work for the highest paying practice, even if it's horrible. You're not in that situation. Exactly. You're like, you don't have to move anywhere. You don't have to do anything. So one of the things that he should be looking at when he's starting to talk to different practices is, number one, do I have to buy into a practice? Because that I don't know if you'd be psyched about.
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it.
Okay, so
if I'm the CFO of the family, I doubt if he's going to want to learn how to do that.
Exactly, because I was just going to say it's a whole different thing. So number two, what are my benefits going to be? I'm sure in the Army, you have a TSP. Many of these places have 401ks. Sometimes they have really cool retirement accounts for the sort of senior physicians in a practice.
Right.
What are the other things? The plain old life insurance and disability insurance and all that stuff. So look into that, just because he's probably had a very nice package of things. The beautiful thing about working for the armed forces overall is that they kind of do the thinking for you on this stuff.
Right, exactly.
So you do a little of the thinking for him. He's going to do a little research. And I think your guys are going to be in great shape. And I just really think you can relax, because I know that until you get there, it's hard to anticipate what it's going to be. But the one thing you do know is that the money thing is not going to be an issue. Okay, now during the break, what are you going to do? You're going to go to JillOnMoney.com. You're going to bookmark it. And there you can read, listen, watch, and sign up for our free weekly newsletter. You may even, if you've got some time, pre-order the book. Pre-order it. It's out in February. You'll want something good in February. The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money, out February 5th. Go to JillOnMoney.com to pre-order. Okay, we'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back with Jill on Money. Got a question? Financial? Maybe it's a career question. I love those career questions. The market's good right now, so, don't forget, it's time to start asking your boss for a raise if you haven't done so. It's all 360 time. Mark, does your fiance have to go through that 360 review process at the end of the year where she sits with a bunch of mooks who say, this is what you've done well, this is what you haven't done well, this is what you can improve on for next year? Evaluations. I always find that most people don't really want to be super honest in that process. So it doesn't end up being so incredibly helpful for many employees because everyone's very careful, right? You don't want to, right? Okay. But anyway, if you're going through that process and you don't like your review or you want some help about how to do something really smart before your review, give us a holler. Just go to JillOnMoney.com. That's our website. That's the hub where we keep everything. And you can contact us from the website, JillOnMoney.com. We have a contact us button right there. Okay, let's do some emails. Here comes from Joseph, who's got a mutual fund in an IRA account. And for 2018, not adding or selling any shares. He is basically doing reinvesting dividends and capital gains. Taking the above into account, if the fund was valued at $65,000 on January 1st and ended the year valued at $73,000, is it correct to assume the net increase in value would be a 12.3% return? Because what he did was he took his starting value, $65,000, and then he took his gain, $8,000, and decided that that is exactly 12.3%. I mean, it's sort of kind of fine for a year, but the best way to really look at forgetting about your fund value is to look at the statistics the way the fund itself calculates it. That might be a little bit more helpful to you. That way you can sort of get the exact number that you're looking for. I'm not sure what you're looking for, but yeah, I mean, 12.3% would be pretty awesome, presuming that you are not double counting the reinvested, because if you have reinvested dividends, it raises your cost basis. So it may be that, I don't know what the distribution was. Maybe after the dividends and capital gains are included, it's really not 65 cost basis. Maybe it's 68. I don't know. And that's why you should use the fund's actual numbers, not your back of the envelope ones. Okay. Edward writes, let me start by saying I thoroughly enjoy reading your article every week in the paper. Hey, that's my Tribune column. I'm considering doing a traditional IRA to Roth IRA conversion before the end of the year. I don't want the taxes taken out of the conversion amount. I have the money to pay the taxes due from my other liquid assets. By the way, that's really important. If you're considering a conversion, you do not make the conversion work unless you've got money outside of the retirement account to pay the taxes that are due. My broker was unable to advise me as to how to proceed. Okay, I'd fire my broker on that, my note. I'm guessing I should pay the taxes directly to the IRS using a fourth quarter 1040 ES, since that's when I'll incur the added income and tax liability. I'm not sure if that's the correct way to proceed, as I don't file estimated taxes throughout the year, and I would like to avoid paying a penalty when I file my taxes. I currently have taxes taken out of my military and government pensions each month, as well as having taxes withdrawn from both mine and my wife's Social Security. Any help would be appreciated. Regards, Ed. Let me think about that. Why make an estimate? Can't you just pay the tax due when it comes? I don't even think you need to worry about the estimate. I think that you could simply just make sure you put it down on your in your tax forms, pay the tax that's due when you figure out your tax that, you're going to have to write a check at some point. You might as well do it right when you file your taxes. File your taxes early. You probably don't have tons of other stuff. And then you'll be able to figure it out from there. If you need help, go to a tax preparer. That's really important. Or the custodian directly. If your broker's not helping you, by the way, I would really fire a broker about that. I'm sorry. Mark, are you laughing at me? I just think that that's sort of outrageous. Truly. Like, you're not going to help me? Okay. How about this? I'll help you. I'll move all my accounts to TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Vanguard. How about that? Is that helpful? Great. That's a good reason to move. Not helpful. Okay, DJ writes, I have a trust for my wife and myself, but not all the accounts are included yet. I've got a checking account. Both my wife and I are on the account. Should I pass away, wouldn't that money become my wife's with no tax issue? Same issue with a small 401k. Okay, two different questions here. The money that is the in a checking savings account, if it's jointly held, it will move to the spouse, to the surviving spouse. There are no taxes due on that. So that's not a problem. But the whole reason why you have money that's in a trust is simply to segregate the money and take advantage of some of the the tax law requirements. Now, I don't know where you live, but, if you live in a place where you have some state estate taxes that could come into play, fine. If you're just a mega zillionaire and you've got a, $25 million estate, then you want to make sure that checking account is part of the trust. So I think that's fine. The 401k is probably not going to go into a trust. The 401k should pass by contract, meaning that you have a designated beneficiary. It's probably your spouse. And if something were to happen to you together, you would have contingent beneficiaries. You don't have to have that asset into a trust. So I wouldn't worry about that. That one, I think you're good. I don't think you really have to worry about either of them. But again, what I really encourage people to do is that if you haven't looked at your estate documents in more than 3 years, it's not a bad time to just go give the old estate attorney a jingle. Make sure everything in there is the way you want it to read. I just spoke with somebody recently who is getting divorced and her father's dying. And she said to me, what do you think I should do? I said, I think you ought to change that will pretty quickly and make sure that the money passes to you directly, not to you and your husband, so it becomes a marital asset at the time of your divorce. So things like that, life changes. Estate planning is not just about taxes. It is about the planning for how your assets get distributed upon your death. So every few years, that's when you should go give that estate attorney a little jingle. Okay, you are listening to Jill on Money. We take the mystery out of your financial life and we make it a little bit of fun. During the break, why don't you just go to the website, jillonmoney.com, and sign up for our free weekly newsletter. It's chock full of interesting stuff every Friday. All right, we'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to jillonmoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back with Jill on Money, and if you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. Hey, you know what you can do? You can just bookmark our website, jillonmoney.com. Isn't that easy? Bookmark it. It'll open on up whenever you need us. On that website, you will see a Contact Us button. Click it, and there you have it. We will be in touch. You can also peruse all the different stuff that's going on in our lives. Read the stuff that I'm writing, listen to old shows, watch television segments, sign up for the free weekly newsletter, pre-order my new book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. It's not going to be there in time for the holidays. But really, who wants to get a financial book for the holidays? Give everybody a February gift. It's a President's Day gift. Here's your book. Go to jillonmoney.com. Click on the link, the book, and you can pre-order wherever you like to buy your books from. Okay. RM wants to know about early retirement benefit deduction. Specifically, there is an earnings test through Social Security, and I think that's really the big question. So here's the thing. Social Security earnings test only applies if you are under your full retirement age for all of 2018. Okay? So if you're under your full retirement, let's say you were like, oh, okay, my full retirement age is 66 and a half, and I'm under that age for all this year. You forfeit $1 in benefits for every $2 that you earn over $17,040. Okay? Now, here's the little wrinkle. If you reach your full retirement age during the year, okay? So in other words, let's say, again, you're 66 is your full retirement age, and you turn 66 in the year 2018. You can earn up to $45,360 in the months before your birthday without losing any benefits. But if you earn more than that, you lose $1 for every $3 earned over $45,360. The other thing you really need to know about the earnings test is once you hit your full retirement age, you're done. You can earn any amount of money after your full retirement age, any amount of money at all, and it does not affect your Social Security benefits. So it's one of the reasons, by the way, why we tell people to please try to delay claiming Social Security until your full retirement age. And income that you earn is very specific. It's earned income is wages or net self-employment income. So your earnings test, it doesn't apply to other government benefits. It doesn't apply to your investment earnings, your interest, your pensions, your annuities, your capital gains. Okay? So there you go. That's your earnings test. Go on to the IRS website, by the way, irs.gov or socialsecurity.gov, because it's really important that you understand this if you're going to earn money. All right? I hope that helps. I love those Social Security questions. All right, let's do another one. This is from Ken, who says, I've worked enough to qualify for Social Security. It's a small amount, roughly $900 a month that I'm entitled to. Of that $900, the government is taking $450 a month as a penalty because I was a police officer and I didn't pay into Social Security during my 22 years of service. I worked before becoming a police officer and after some. This doesn't seem fair. What's your opinion? Can you change this? Let's do the easy one, Ken. No, you can't change it. I don't have an opinion on windfall elimination provisions. This is the way it is. There's no fighting it. I know it doesn't seem fair. It's just how the rules are set up. I'm sorry. I wish I could help. You know, it's a bummer. Gary says, he writes, good afternoon. Do you have a financial advising company? No, I do not. Can you recommend one? Okay, Mark, let's send him the 10 questions to ask before you hire a advisor. And if you want to go look for an advisor, there's a couple places to check out. Let'smakeaplan.org. That's where you'll find a CFP. You can go to NAPFA, the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, napfa.org. That's where you will get a fee-only advisor. And I would absolutely, interview a bunch of people. The question that you ask, how do you go pick one? You take our questions, ask the questions, and you write, Gary, what if you're not feeling it when you meet? Then don't hire the person. You're right. You got to get along with this person. So absolutely go ahead, meet some people, ask our questions, and be very clear that you don't have to meet someone. You don't have to hire someone just because you met with them. Take your time. It's a process. Easy to do. All right. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. And of course, if you are wondering about myriad of different things, again, it could be hiring a financial advisor. It could be figuring out how to look at your year-end planning, your tax planning, if you're looking ahead a few months. We want to hear from you. So it's it's an easy way to do it. It's a very low barrier to entry here at Jill on Money World. Okay? Very easy. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. When we return, more of your questions. We'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. If you've got a financial question, we'd love to hear from you. Just send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Go to our website, jillonmoney.com. That's where you'll get a click here, contact us kind of button floating around. So please do that. Check out all of our great resources, and we've got links to lots of fun stuff for you. So check that out. I've got a message from Scott, who attached a statement from a variable universal life policy that he bought. And he says, tell me how stupid it may have been. I'm not sure I understood that the fee would be as steep each month. At age 66, it was sold to me as a vehicle to help with future nursing home care if needed. Look, I can't make I can't do an analysis of this because what you sent me was just sort of the front page. So there's a death benefit, $100,000. It accumulates a small amount of money. I don't know how much money you put in every month, but obviously if you just blew out of this thing right this second, you just go to there's a surrender charge. It would cost you $2,800 to get out right this second. So it looks to me like you're putting like 260 grand in. $260 in. I don't know if that's happening on a monthly basis, but anyway, I'll tell you what. Long story short is I would try to get out of this thing if possible. I would love to hear more about what's going on in your financial life. I'd like to know whether or not you really needed this insurance. It's a very expensive way for you to meet a need of long-term care, which I don't even know if you actually requires a policy or not. One thing to do is you're probably past your free look period. In your state, I just looked it up, you've got a minimum of 10 days to review and decide if you want to keep a policy. On the other hand, you may want to talk to the person who sold it to you and say that you were really unhappy with this and you want to figure out what your options are. And perhaps there's a way to get out. I don't know, but this is not looking like the greatest policy in the world. But maybe there's something I'm missing, so I want to give you the opportunity to give us a holler back. All right, that's it for the first hour. We are going to be back, though, during our break. Why don't you go and subscribe to our podcast? Better Off. You can get it anywhere you find your favorite podcasts. Better Off. It's our sister podcast to this show. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Okay, it's hour number 2 of the Jill on Money program. We are broadcasting live from the Capital One Bank studios. And this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. But let's be honest, there's no way I'm working the weekend before Christmas. So we're pre-taping this. And it's December, so at least I've got that. What we decided to do on a couple of the big holiday weekends was give you some of the best of the program, some of the great interviews that you may have missed along the way. And we've got a doozy. This may be my favorite interview of 2018. Annie Duke is a World Series of Poker champion. She wrote a book that's called Thinking in Bets. I loved this interview so much that I quoted Annie in my book, which is going to be released in February 5th, The Dumb Things Smart People Do with Their Money. And I just loved it because the way that a very cool-headed professional gambler thinks is around probability and having consistency. And I know that might make you feel a little bit weird that, like, gosh, why are we taking advice from gamblers? Because good gamblers, like a good trader, a good gambler will actually think in terms of probability. And I think that Annie has a great way of boiling these things down. And I really think, Mark, this could be my interview of the year. I really liked her a lot. He liked the China Hustle guys that we played on Thanksgiving. But you can vote yourself. Anyway, here's our interview with Annie Duke. You are a World Series of Poker champion.
I am.
Tell the story about how you started playing poker competitively first.
Well, it's a little bit of a weird, windy story. Poker didn't get on TV till 2002. I started playing in the 90s, so you can imagine for anybody, it would have to be a windy story, but particularly for a woman. So here's what happened. I'm in graduate school at Penn. I'm studying cognitive psychology. I'm a National Science Foundation Fellowship. I'm moving along. I have my master's. I'm finishing my PhD work, and I'm going out onto the job market. And the job market in academics is seasonal, so you can only do it in the spring. And I had my job talks lined up, and I got really sick, and I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I had to go recuperate. I kind of missed the market, so I had now had to wait a year. So what am I going to do during that year? Because I don't have my fellowship now. I'm taking time off. My brother, Howard Lederer, had been playing professionally for 10 years. He had been nice enough to fly me out to Vegas for a vacation once in a while, and he'd give me $50 and tell me to go play small stakes poker. I was saying to my brother, I don't know what to do. Now I have to wait a year. He said, why don't you play poker in the meantime?
But wait, you guys grew up in a card-playing household?
But not a poker-playing household, yes, but a card-playing household.
Like what? Hearts?
Oh, gosh, we played hearts. Something called Oh Hell, which is a little bit of a stripped-down version of bridge. We played a lot of gin. Mm-hmm. And then I was playing bridge with my dad, by the time I was 14, I was his partner. So we did play a lot of cards, but poker was sort of my brother's milieu. He started playing when he was 18. So, so he said, I think there's some poker games in Montana. You should do that in the meantime. And, 20 years later was the meantime, I guess. I retired in 2012. So I played for 20 years, 18 of which were as a professional.
So one of the things that's interesting about the way you start the book is you say that life is poker, not chess. And you start with a story about Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. I remember watching that game. I remember that Pete Carroll made this call where he was going to throw a pass on second down. Was that right? And the commentators were going like their heads were going to blow up. Like it was the biggest deal in the world, and there was an interception. And your point in telling that story is that it wasn't necessary. Everyone said, oh, my God, horrible decision, worst play ever. Was it a bad decision?
Well, it depends on who you read. But when you look at the really deep mathematical analyses of it, one of the places you can go look is Benjamin Morris wrote about it on 538.com. You see that mathematically it looks like a pretty good decision. So you have the coach do something unexpected, which Pete Carroll did. Everybody expected him to hand it off to Marshawn Lynch. But for a variety of reasons, you can read about it in the book or Benjamin Morris, for clock management reasons, for reasons of getting 3 plays instead of 2, the pass actually looks really good, and the interception rate there is only 1%-ish. So it seems like relatively free to try for it. But of course, it got intercepted, and they lost, and then it was, the worst call in Super Bowl history.
We tend to judge how good a decision something was based on what happened. And you say that sometimes bad luck can occur or good luck can occur. So talk about the difference between a good decision and a bad decision versus the outcome.
So resulting is taking the quality of the outcome and using that as the sole way to derive the quality of the decision. It's really problematic because, look, how are we going to learn? We're going to take these outcomes that we have, the results that we have. We generally are going to try to figure something out about whether the decision was good or not, and then make adjustments to the way that we make decisions going forward. And if we stick these things together too tightly, we end up with all this kind of messed up analysis of the way that things worked out. So resulting is really bad.
You write, decisions are bets on the future. They aren't right or wrong based on whether they turn out well on any particular iteration. An unwanted result doesn't make our decision wrong if we thought about the alternatives and the probabilities in advance and allocated our resources accordingly. Here is how I want to think about this. Look at the market's gone berserk. Right?
Berserk.
Up, down, anywhere.
Yes.
If somebody were to make the decision, and I got $1 million inheritance, everything's in the account, and said, okay, I've got to put my money to work, puts the money to work, and then has to endure selling on Friday and then on Monday, and then says, oh my God, I made the worst decision of my life.
Well, so hopefully that's not what they say. And I think that you see this all the time, is that you react to these short-term fluctuations. So what I say about that is essentially this. If you think about, say, flipping a coin, if I flip a coin once and it lands heads and you've called heads, that doesn't tell me very much about your coin flipping ability, because we only did it one time. I mean, 4 times doesn't tell me very much. 10,000 times, sure. But we're talking about one market fluctuation. And what you want to do is be more like thinking about what is the long-term trend of the market looks like. So, in the book, I actually show this chart of Berkshire Hathaway. And I say, look, if you look at Berkshire Hathaway over the long term, obviously it has this beautiful upward trend. But here's 11:30 on a Tuesday in 2008. It looks really bad. So we want to pull ourselves away from getting too caught up in these little tiny outcomes, because it's just not enough data. Like, it doesn't tell us anything that the market went down on one day.
But I think what's fascinating is that in thinking in bets, you basically understand as a poker player that you've got to make disciplined decisions based on the information you have, but you have to recognize you're going to lose a bunch of hands, right?
So there's two things that determine the way our lives turn out. One is the quality of our decisions. We should do a lot of focus on making sure that that's good. But the other is luck. And we don't have anything to do with luck. And there's a lot of it. We can think about something that seems like a really, really skillful decision that we can make. And I can show you how much luck intervenes.
Okay, we've got more with Annie Duke coming up in just a minute. During the break, why don't you go onto the website, go to JillOnMoney.com. There you can actually pre-order the book. Just go to the tab, the book. Or if you've got a question while you're perusing the website, just click on the Contact Us button and you will be able to quickly contact us. All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back with Jill on Money. We have such a great guest. I have such a crush on this chick. She is smart, interesting, articulate, a fabulous, fabulous radio show guest. She also has a book that is called Thinking in Bets. Annie Duke. I actually think this could be a fantastic holiday present if you're just like, oh my God, last second, I got to buy something. Hop into your local independent bookstore and pick this up. In this part of the interview with Annie Duke, we're talking about the concept of luck. And why is that important? Because sometimes you are lucky and you confuse that with being smart. And there's a big difference. Here's an example. Let's say you were lucky enough to buy Bitcoin at, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, and you bought it at a couple $1,000 or something. And then by the end of the year, Bitcoin is trading up at 19,000. And you quickly realize, you don't say, oh, it's risen. You just say, oh my God, I need that money fast. I need a down payment for my car. And you sell it. And you didn't sell it because you thought that Bitcoin became overvalued. You sold it because you needed a car. So it was kind of lucky that you needed a car at the tip top of the market. But you would never confuse that for you being a market timing genius, or would you? Sometimes really lucky things happen and sometimes they don't. And understanding the difference is an incredibly important concept for any investor. So in this segment of our interview with Annie Duke, we are talking about luck. How can we help people who are listening be more comfortable with this element of luck? Because I think that this makes people feel really freaked out, that they want to believe. For example, people will say, I want to know what the market's doing. Well, you don't know what the market's doing. Like, we interviewed this woman who's a neurologist who said, you got to see what happens to the brain when you float uncertainty out there. It's wild. Like, the brain goes completely nutty. We don't like uncertainty. So then we cling to this black and white universe. And as you said, you reinforce your own case. But investing in and of itself, playing poker, these are uncertain activities that we kind of know over the long term, generally speaking, will happen. But at any given time, it can blow up in your face. It can feel horrible. How do we make people more comfortable with that?
The short story is to change what it is that makes you feel good. So, of course, uncertainty makes us feel bad. Finding out that something that you believed maybe isn't so accurate doesn't sort of naturally come to us. So what we need to do is figure out a way to change what it is that makes us feel good. So let me give you an example. I'm sure that you've heard this a lot from people, right? Some horrible thing happens to them and they say, well, I just got unlucky. Mm-hmm. Some great things happen and they say, I'm so smart. Right. That's called self-serving bias, by the way. You can see why. But this is a very natural way that we process the world. We like to onboard all the good stuff to skill, and then we like to sort of offload all the kind of bad stuff that happens to us to luck, right? How am I processing my own outcomes? So that's obviously like a short-term hit, right? Like I'm getting a short-term like boost of endorphins and feel good and all of that. You notice that what I'm doing is I'm saying I'm not comfortable with this luck element, so I'm just going to shunt off all the bad stuff to that, right? Because that's going to help me to sort of feel better. But what if we change what you reinforce me for? What if I change the rules of the game? And I say that, you know what would make me feel really bad is thinking that I'm blaming something on luck that I actually could use to inform my own decision making. And instead, what I want to do is be the best credit giver I can, be the best mistake admitter that I can be. Well, so that's a really nice goal, hard to do on your own. So if you get other people to start reinforcing that behavior with you, then that's where you're really going to do well, because in the end, we're all rats in a maze trying to get to the end of the maze and get our little piece of cheese. So ask other people to help you reinforce this stuff. Be the ones who are giving you that pellet.
I want to hear a little bit about this group rewards, because you're talking about that a little bit on, kind of missing opportunities to examine your decisions and figure out where you do better. And for people who work in groups, there is a unique opportunity to do this. Let's say I'm a boss and I've got a group of people. I'm listening to this podcast. What can I do to either do a little post-mortem or pre-mortem about decision-making with the group?
So all groups aren't created equal. So we've all heard a lot about echo chambers. That's where groups tend to drift towards. So that's where you as an individual say, I want to confirm my own beliefs. Well, guess what? Groups do that too. So groups can sort of become this confirmatory thought style if they sort of run on their own without intentionality, right? So it's like, oh, we're great and our strategy's great and we're all so smart, and it sort of just becomes a bigger version of the individual. So as a leader, what you want to do is put in place this culture that encourages exploratory thought, which means that you have to have this commitment to accuracy over being right. And you also have to be very, very tolerant of dissent. So people have to feel really, really comfortable in giving views that disagree with kind of the prevailing ideas in the room, particularly the ideas of the leader, because people want to feel like they're team players and it's kind of hard to disagree with the leader.
Right.
So how do you do that? Well, there's two really great things that you can do as a leader that you can include in your group in order to encourage dissenting opinions. And they both have to do with how are you defining what being a team player means. So everybody likes to be a team player. Let's go with that. So let's just change the rules of the game so that being a team player has to do with dissenting. Two great strategies. One is red team, blue team. So you have, one team that's supposed to argue for the prevailing belief, idea, strategy, prediction, whatever it might be. And you have another group of people whose job is to do the best that they can at arguing against. So on that team, on the red team, being a team player is specifically dissenting, being hungry to try to figure out why not as opposed to why. So that's a great way to do it. The other you mentioned is called a pre-mortem. So a pre-mortem is when you imagine, okay, we've decided that we have some goal in mind. We want to increase earnings by X by this time period. And you imagine with the group, you've held up a newspaper and the headline is, we failed at our goal. We did not reach our earnings marks, right? So now what you do is with the group, you say, okay, everybody take out a piece of paper and write down the 5 reasons that we did not reach our goal. So again, you've changed the rules of the game, right? And what's really wonderful about that is that you end up with some crazy things that people wouldn't otherwise say in the room. So let's say you're a leader and you're doing this and say, we missed our sales mark. We missed our earnings goals. Why? You'll get somebody who will literally write down on a piece of paper, you quit, for example. Now, how are you going to get somebody to say that otherwise? So now as a leader, you can say, that's great. Like I quit, I died, I got promoted out of this team. Let's not be surprised if that happens. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to, but let's not be surprised if that's happening. Let's figure out what are you going to do as a team if that happens. And now you can put these plans in place where you're no longer reactive to bad things that might happen, even very unexpected ones, and you become much more nimble and prepared. So the pre-mortem allows you to, if you think about a painting, you have the positive space, right? That's the rah, let's think about why our plan will work. And then, but you want to fill that out with the negative space. So change the rules of the game.
I love that because it makes me feel like when I was a practicing financial planner, that essentially that's what a financial plan is. It is actually a pre-mortem. It is saying, what if every assumption you're making doesn't hold true? And I remember a client once saying to me, like, you're so cynical. And I said, I'm not so cynical. But you're just talking about what if I got disabled? What if I were to die? What happens if instead of getting 8% return, I got 4% return? there's a sense that I have that was my job, because you don't want to think that, so let me think that for you. Or let me at least open it up, right?
Right, so let's not get totally surprised and unprepared for if we get disabled or we don't get the return that we were expecting or the market goes down 1,000 points in one day. Let's think about that in advance and have plans in place. So let me think about, well, there are going to be days where the market crashes. So I'm going to decide in advance that on those days, I'm not going to react to it because one day doesn't really matter. I'm investing for the long term. So that would be an example of sort of preparing for the worst.
We'll get back to our interview with Annie Duke in just a minute. If you've got a financial question, we want to hear from you. Send an email, askjillonmoney.com. And don't forget to hop onto the website, jillonmoney.com. Hey, check out some of our recent TV appearances, videos, etc. We're going to get busy with a lot of that video stuff coming up soon. All right, we'll be right back with Annie Duke.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. It's Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. And I am Jill on Money, Jill Schlesinger. Mark, he is Mark Talercio, executive producer extraordinaire. And, we really have such a great relationship because Mark basically puts the world into two camps, the black camp, the white camp, and not color by face, but just like theoretically, he sort of thinks right, wrong. And I am Miss Gray. So we complement each other. Sometimes he'll say to me, no, that's not the way it is. And sometimes I'll say to him, I think you're being a little harsh about that. And in this portion of our interview with Annie Duke, World Series of Poker champion, author of Thinking in Bets, we're talking about your belief systems and how that informs you. Here is more of our interview with Annie Duke. You have some great questions. I just want to give, because I love these questions, especially for people who have rock solid black and white beliefs, especially about their financial lives, because they think it's this concrete thing that is not about luck, and sometimes it often is.
Well, it's very much about luck.
Exactly. Why might my belief not be true? What other evidence might be out there bearing on my belief? Are there similar areas I can look toward to gauge whether similar beliefs to mine are true? What sources of information could I have missed or minimized on the way to reaching my belief? What are the reasons someone else could have a different belief? What's their support? And why might they be right instead of me? What other perspectives are there as to why things turned out the way they did? And you say that basically just by asking these questions, you're going to move to a whole different plane.
Yeah, so that's actually, that list of questions is exactly what Thinking in Bets is about. So I think we've all had the experience of saying, oh, I'm sure that market is going to, go up tomorrow because of blah, whatever it is, right? Whatever, plug in your reasons. And somebody says to you, oh, do you want to bet? And what happens is that you move off of shore into those questions that I list there, that it forces you to start thinking about, again, the world as an accuracy game as opposed to a right game. Because the person who wins in a bet, once I challenge you to a bet, the person who wins in a bet is the person who has the most accurate view of the world, not the person who's just affirmed their prior. Right? So once I've challenged you to bet, it makes you go through this whole vetting process of the beliefs that are informing the decision that you're about to make. And it makes you go through and think, well, why might I be wrong? What do they know that I don't know? All those things that it tells you that you're supposed to back off sure into, well, as opposed to I'm sure, the question should really be how sure am I? Because that really tells me how much I'm willing to risk on this. And what a beautiful thing to do, because the fact is that idea of I'm not sure is just a much more accurate representation of a world where, of course, there's hidden information. We don't have all the facts about anything. And there's luck in the way that the future unfolds. You can't be sure of anything about the way the future unfolds. And that's even when we know the math for sure. If I know that a coin is 50-50, I still don't know if it's going to flip heads or tails on the next one. So let's all be I'm not sure a lot more.
I love that. My first job, I was an options trader. and in the gold, silver, and copper options pits on the Commodities Exchange of New York. So I know enough statistics to be dangerous, not probably as much as you. And I remember when I was clerking, we started getting our training. We're running down the positions and we're looking at outcomes and we're looking at this Black-Scholes model and what's the outcome and what's the likelihood and percentage of loss. And my boss, we sort of hand my boss like what we think, where we are. And the boss looks at me, he goes, "You want to bet your job on this number right now? You're telling me I'm long 6 futures. You want to bet your job on that?" And I stopped, and he looked at me and goes, "I'm serious. If this number's not right, you're going to be fired." I took the thing back. I ran it 5 more times. I came back and I said to myself, "Oh, crap, well, I'm as sure as I'm going to be. Yes." He's like, "Okay, I just want to make sure that you double check, triple check, because in the middle of a trading session, I need you to ask yourself that. Would I bet my job on this number?"
Yeah, so that's such a great story, by the way, and I would like to be able to borrow it because
Anytime.
It's such a good demonstration. What a bet does is it acts like an accountability mechanism for your beliefs. It forces you to be accountable to the things that you believe, and if we have a clash of beliefs, it acts like a referee. Okay, we disagree, so now we have this referee. So what I say in the book is obviously outside of you're on the floor or you're at a poker table, we probably don't want to go around challenging our friends or colleagues to bets all the time. So the way we want to do it is through good group decision making. So we want to include in the group this accountability mechanism that you're going to be held accountable to the things that you believe. And if 2 people disagree, there's going to be somebody refereeing that, acting like a bet without actually making people put money on the table.
I was just listening to Ezra Klein's podcast, and he had a guy on as his guest who said, "You've been very critical of me, and that's why I wanted to invite you on my podcast." And I think that's really hard to do. How do you manage finding those people and listening to the feedback and not getting dragged down into the mud?
Let's say that you and I are equally well informed on a topic, but we have opposite views. We know kind of by definition that the truth must lie somewhere in the middle, assuming that there isn't some huge thing that you've missed or some huge thing that I've missed, which is why I'm saying we're equally well informed on the topic.
Right.
So it has to do, again, with sort of changing what it is that you're getting value out of. So if you're excited when you hear somebody who you know is really smart make you think a little bit differently, if that's what gets you off, that is how you get there. It's saying, do I want to be living on 11:30 on a Tuesday on that chart where that little downtick just makes me so sad that I can't play for the long run and get just that upward trend to how things go over my life? Because we know if we become better decision makers as we go along, if we're making good decisions as we go along, our lives have a very high probability of going pretty well, right? They might not, because luck can intervene.
Absolutely.
For sure. But we're increasing the probability that things are going to go pretty well for us. So that's what we want to do. We want to be thinking about the long term. What you recognize is that if that's the goal that I have, I must figure out how to calibrate my beliefs. I must figure out how to moderate my beliefs. And I can only do that by finding people who are super smart, who disagree with me, and listen to them. And I'm willing to take that kind of short term, ooh, that didn't feel good, because I know that in the long run, it's going to make me so much better.
Well, thank you so much to Annie Duke. That really was one of the best interviews of the year. My favorite, I think. If you want to check out her book, Thinking in Bets, we'll have a link to it. And don't worry, you'll get more of Annie when you get my book, The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. Available February 5th, but available for pre-order right now. Go to JillOnMoney.com, click on the link, The Book, and you can pre-order it. And it'll just be a nice gift for President's Week when you're off doing your thing. Okay, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back with Jill on Money. How are ya? Hope everything is going well for you. This segment is sponsored by you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sending us questions. If you'd like to get in touch with us, it's easy. All you have to do is go onto our website, JillOnMoney.com. We've got a contact us button, top right, contact. And otherwise, you can just just put in add a contact in your phone and just say Jill, last name on money, and then write in our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. Okay. So sometimes you ask things and I have to look it up. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. I don't know everything off the top of my head. But that said, I usually know where to find it. So that's good. Brett is asking about Social Security disability. Brett is currently disabled with a neck and back injury from which recovery will be very slow. And he writes, I'm on SSDI. I'm not working at the moment. I do wish to improve my health and then find a part-time job suitable to the limitations. However, not knowing if it will work, I would like to know how much I can earn on the job without putting my Social Security disability income at risk. I don't want to activate some end-of-benefit rule. As it is, I'm reevaluated every 2 years for eligibility. I don't want to increase any risk of losing benefits. If it turns out down the road that I'm able to hold down a job and support myself, that is fine and preferable. Until that time, I don't want to take any extra risk. I don't blame you. Could you advise as to how much I could earn without drawing attention or create changes to my benefits? Thank you for your help. Okay, Brett. So here's what I did. I don't know this. I mean, Social Security disability is very squirrely. So I get that. Looking at the Social Security website, right, ssa.gov, basically it says there are no limits on unearned income. I think that you can't earn more than something like $1,100 a month. I think that's it, $1,180. But I do think you should double check this. And now there are certain FAQs that I'm looking at all these different Social Security, but I think it's something around you can't earn. I think it's $1,170 or $1,180 per month. But go to ssa.gov and figure this out. But I think it's something like that. $1,180, Mark says. He just double checked it. So there it is. SSDI limits for 2018. You can, so why don't you make it easy for yourself? Just say $1,100 a month. Hey, that could come in handy, right? I think that's a great idea. Also, I mean, if you intend to try to be working at some point, it's certainly good to have your hand in something, don't you think? So that's where I go with it. Okay. So Eleanor writes that she doesn't want to spend a lot for financial advice. Where can I go without spending a percentage of my portfolio? There are some resources. And if you don't want to turn over your money and get charged that way, you can get charged a flat fee. And that flat fee is maybe a one-time only thing. I don't know what you have. I don't know what your situation is. But I think that in your case, you may want to talk to somebody through the NAPFA website, NAP as in Peter, FA, NAPFA.org. And Eleanor, what's cool about it is they are fee-only financial planners. And there are resources online that you might want to check out, but a fee-only planner is the kind that will not that may charge you a flat fee. You also can check out Garrett Planning Network. They do some stuff. XY, which is geared towards younger folks, but still you could do it. It's a monthly fee that you can get some advice. So there are resources out there. But I wouldn't necessarily be scared away by an asset under management fee either, because, right now, a lot of the robo-advisors, the online investing houses, are offering advice as well. And it's cheap, 1/4 to 0.5% a year, and you get advice. That might be something to look into. You can try Betterment, which is the sponsor of my podcast, or Wealthfront, or Schwab, or Vanguard, all of that. All of that. So give it a whirl, and there is advice out there for you. And I think it's important that you just know what you're looking for. And also, for anyone listening, when you're looking for financial advice, understand what you're paying for. It's not, I've become a little bit less concerned around the how they charge you rather than what you're going to get. Because I know there is a case to be made for lots of different fee structures depending on a situation. So what I think is most important is that somebody has your best interests at heart, right? They're fiduciaries, and that you understand what you are paying for. That's going to be really helpful. So good luck, Eleanor. And you can always go to JillOnMoney.com, click on the resource link, and we do have the questions to ask a financial advisor before you engage him or her. Check it out. It's at JillOnMoney.com. While you're there, why don't you sign up for our free weekly newsletter? We'll be right back. You're back with Jill on Money. Before we wrap up the show, we would love to remind you to stay in touch with us, even when we're not on the air, just during the week. You can always just send us an email, ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. You can also go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. All right. Daryl writes, I own a Roth IRA. I have a couple of mutual funds, a single stock, and some cash. Since this is after-tax money, right? Because when you put money into a Roth, you pay the tax that's due, then it goes into the account. Question is, are capital gains taxes due if I sell stock or funds, but don't take any money out of the Roth? Here's an easy one to close out the show, Mark. I love the easy questions. This is the beauty of a retirement account. Whether it's a Roth or it's a traditional IRA, there's no capital gains due. That's it, which is why I don't understand. There's a lot of people who are kind of stock jockeys out there and they have these other accounts. I would be if I were a trading kind of person and I just wanted to have some play money, do it with a retirement account, a Roth or a regular IRA, because there's no capital gains that's due. The difference with a Roth is, you can sell it, buy it, sell it, buy it, sell it. And then when you ultimately take the money out, what's happening? You don't pay tax. I love a Roth. I think I should just have like some sort of Ed Slott sounder, Mark, where he just says something like, I love a Roth. That's a beautiful thing. So, Daryl, no tax due. I'm not sure why you want that single stock, but I don't know. Go ahead, sell it. Don't think twice. Sell the stock, sell the funds, and make sure that you're efficient. When you reallocate stuff, it's a great idea for you to use low-cost index funds. Okay, that's it. That's the show. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got any questions, let us know. You can always go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. Don't forget to go over there and sign up to receive our free weekly newsletter and pre-order my new book. It's coming out soon, first week of February. The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. We all do them. Okay, we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening.